Hi everyone, it's Justine. Today I came to give you my researched opinion about the Balenciaga campaign. It was released a few days ago and taken down almost immediately because a public outcry started. We'll get to that. If you have children, don't watch this video with your children. This topic is not for children. You will see. It starts with the latest runway show that Balenciaga presented during Fashion Week. It was very moody, very dark, a quite disturbing mood, my personal opinion. There was a lot of mud. You would see models racing, pacing through the mud, no smile, very glim lighting. I must add that Balenciaga is a very successful high fashion brand. It has an aura, which is very edgy, underground, very trendy at the moment. There are many celebrities attending Balenciaga shows, and there are many more people who would pay to attend these shows. The current creative director of Balenciaga is a war refugee. And so he wanted to make a statement this season. He sent models down the runway who looked like refugees, fighting to survive almost. They were literally pacing through the mud, wearing distressed clothes. Some of them were carrying a hand accessory, which looked like a handbag, in the form of distressed teddy bears. Some of the models were wearing makeup that made them look like they had been beaten up. The metaphor is very clear. You could say it's very conceptual, very avant-garde, which it is. It's not very wearable, but it's a happening, you know? And at that time, they made headlines for it. But that was 2 months ago. And it's not what brought Balenciaga pretty close to implosion right now. Fast forward to last week, Balenciaga publishes their gifting campaign, advertising campaign, ahead of the upcoming Christmas season. This is a key period in the year for a high fashion brand, not just Balenciaga, but all of them. Those brands that make very expensive, not so wearable clothes, they need the smaller objects with the lower price tag so people can afford a little bit of the magic of the stardust and actually buy from the house because the clothes are very, very pricey. So that's very understandable. And the runway show was a little bit out there. So you see where they're coming. They were like, okay, for the Christmas season, we need more appealing, we need more aesthetically pleasing, we need more commercial. It's the marketing brain kicking in. They hired Gabriele Galimberti, sorry about the pronunciation, a photographer who is famous for, among other things, his photo series called Toy Stories, where he traveled the world and took photos of kids in many different countries and cultures, posing with their most prized possessions. And often it's their toys. So they're standing there, smiling, proud, and displayed their favorite things. It's very sweet, sociologically super interesting. These photos are a great series, if you ask me. He probably was asked to do exactly the same for Balenciaga, and he said, sure thing, all right. This is one photo that came out of that photo shoot day. You see it's clean, you see light, you see colors, it looks tidy. So a lot more commercial than the runway show, clearly. You also recognize the style of the photographer. You see that little boy standing on the couch with his objects displayed in front of him. The products are very visible. It's a lot more commercial, which very likely was the briefing. Then you look closer and you realize that the teddy bear that the kid is holding is actually a bondage bear, including a lock necklace. The items on the table are for adults only and or sexual. You see the candle in that beer can. You see that bottle of H2O, which is in fact a liquor-shaped bottle. None of that should be in a child's bedroom, technically. Look at the position of that straw and the legs of the child. The placement, how each item is styled on the photo is clearly thought out. And every detail and position matters if you work as a brand manager. This photo shocks me immensely, and I'd like to explain why. Before studying fashion design and becoming a designer, I worked in brand management for several years. I was part of the brand team that creates the major advertising campaigns, just like this one. Let me tell you, a shoot like this means lots of people involved. The brand is lead in that process. They choose the products to be displayed. The lead agency proposes the concept. There is back and forth, many loops. The brand approves the concept. Then the styling itself is in the hands of somebody who's booked especially for that. The photographer is chosen very carefully. The set is planned weeks, if not months in advance. Everything involved in that process means at least 20 people before the photo shoot even takes place. Then on the day of the shoot, you don't just have the styling team there and the production team and the photographer. You also have the brand people. You have the brand managers and directors who are there, who keep things in check and make sure that what is being shot is in line with the approved concept. The agency people are there too. A photo shoot set is crowded. All those people are there to make sure that the concept being executed is the concept that was approved and that everything being done is in line with the brand. None of these people questioned whether it was a good idea to put a child in that scene. Are you kidding me? There are more photos from that photo shoot. There is, for instance, the one that was headlining the gift shop webpage on the Balenciaga website. There are more photos yet that were taken. That's very normal because on a photo shoot day, you try different positions, you make the models pose in different places, different attitudes, different everything, so that you have enough material. You shoot way too much, and then after the photo shoot day, during post-production, you pick the final images that will make it to the campaign. Speaking of post-production, that means even more people involved, right? On a campaign like this, a major campaign, there are hours and hours of editing, of photoshopping. The post-production people will question everything, and the brand managers as well, by the way. It's not like the brand is out of that process either. You second guess the colors, the strands of hair. You look that the skin looks impeccable. You would change the leaves in the trees in the background of that photo if necessary. You can edit anything that's off. You can take an object and put it somewhere else. You can edit out that straw between the legs of the child. You can change anything. It's Photoshop. Yeah. And during that process, nobody either questioned whether the concept was a good idea. So let me be very clear. There is an obvious problem in the hierarchy at Balenciaga of who is making the decisions, because I don't believe for a second that a campaign like this would be published without the brand's approval. There is way too much process and way too many people involved. It's a structural issue here. Once the internet, freaking out, started to ask Balenciaga to take that photo down from the website, they replaced it by this one, where the child is not directly interacting with that bondage bear. Better? Not much. Not much. In the end, Balenciaga took down all the photos from that shooting and also erased them from their socials everywhere, while headlines kept piling up, because this is not even the end of the story. At about the same time as that gifting campaign, another campaign went live, this time featuring adult models. So you will see Nicole Kidman, you will see Isabelle Huppert, very, very famous international personalities with a mix of countries, skin tones, ages, which is good. It is the spring 2023 ready-to-wear campaign. It looks a lot more wearable than the runway fashion, right? Very clean, very professional. It's set up in a lawyer's office. At the same time, and with a very similar concept, they also shot the capsule collection Balenciaga times Adidas. So it's a collab, a co-branded thing. You bet that a brand like Adidas would look at the photos from the runway show and go, if we're gonna do a collaboration, you take the mud out, you make them look clean, commercial, professional, sellable. Because Adidas is much more of a mass market, non-polarizing brand. So far, so good. But then this flat lay photo happens. It is a Balenciaga and Adidas co-branded handbag, set up, laid flat with different accessoires on the lawyer's desk. That's the concept. There is one text in the foreground of that photo, which is legible. On a professional photo shooting day like this, I repeat, nothing is left to chance. Especially for a flat lay photo like this, you would give a lot of thought to which items are going to be in the frame, the orientation of everything, what is going to be cropped out on the sides and in the corners to make the scene look like it's a real desk and not a stage scene, even though it is a stage scene. If they didn't want that text in the foreground to be legible, they could put more papers on top of it before taking the photo, or in post-production, they could blur it out. They could even replace the text with another one. Like anything is possible. Again, it's Photoshop. They didn't do any of that. They left that text legible. It can be read if you find the photo in high enough definition. Turns out that text is an extract from a US Supreme Court ruling regarding photos of children that seem to be in explicit positions. If I say the word, I'm going to be in trouble with YouTube, but I left a link to that Supreme Court ruling in the video description down below. And even if anyone who works on that photo shoot or on the post-production didn't know about that, the content of that Supreme Court ruling, the word is right there and it's legible and it starts with a P. Now that's weird. In my opinion, the Balenciaga people knew what they were doing. They approved the material. I don't buy that they didn't see it before it went live. They were trying to generate PR for the gifting campaign and making sure that the Spring 2023 campaign also gets some visibility at the same time by including explicit elements into both campaigns. Shady methods, but I see how that would be linked strategically. What I don't get is how Adidas let that happen. Because in a collab like this between two huge brands, typically both brands would want to approve the final materials before any campaign, any photo goes live. And I wondered how Adidas didn't see that. Adidas, that is a very risk-averse company because they're a mass market brand. They do not want to be controversial or polarizing, ever. I don't get that. Now, a few days more have passed and I've been waiting for the reactions. So the long list of international supermodels that lent their faces to that Spring 23 campaign are all keeping a very low profile on social media. They've been called out for not calling out Balenciaga, but it's not quite fair. Here is why. Normally, a supermodel that has an advertising contract for a major campaign with the brand of that size will likely have a paragraph in their contracts saying that they're not allowed to speak negatively of the brand for the duration of the contract or for like a defined period of time. So they can't speak out yet. They must be doing loops and feedback with their lawyers to see how they can separate themselves from that brand and not go down with them. Very likely, but that's all happening behind the scenes. The photographer of the kids' photo shoot made a statement saying that he's not responsible for what's on the photo. He's just in charge of taking that photo. Classy excuse. FYI, if you don't like it, you can just walk out. You could, but you didn't. He also said that he has nothing to do with the adult photo shoot, so with the Spring 23 campaign. That's for the flat lay. That's clear. Balenciaga published quite quickly a statement to apologize. It seems like we got caught, so now we need to do some damage control. So let's say whatever people want to say. We're so sorry, but like we've seen better apologies, frankly. Kim Kardashian has heavily linked her own image and intertwined it with Balenciaga for several years now. She was called out, among others. She issued a two-part Instagram story saying that she's shocked and that she's reassessing her relationship with the brand. You bet, as a mother of 4 children, she kind of had to say something. Balenciaga said, and I quote, that they're taking legal action against the parties responsible for creating the set and including unapproved items for our Spring 2023 campaign photo shoot. So that's not the kids campaign, that's the adult campaign, right? They must be feeling the heat from Adidas right now. And or from the mothership, because Balenciaga is owned by Kering, which is a mega luxury company that owns Balenciaga and many more luxury brands. They probably don't find this funny at all, and they don't want that scandal to reflect on their stock price, basically. But also, a campaign was planned, executed, so shot, post-produced, approved, and went live without you knowing. That's what this statement is kind of saying. That would be scary. I think it's completely impossible, and it's dishonest, because if that's actually true and the brand didn't know what was going live on their own media, then you would have to fire the entire brand management team for incompetence. So I guess that now they must be trying to look for a scapegoat, somebody to take the blame for them so they can kind of save face and come out of it with less damage, because this is growing so out of proportions that they're like, oops, maybe we went too far. In a nutshell, Balenciaga made their own bed. Literally, not once, but twice. Moving forward, can we please stop thinking that any press is good press and leave children out of it? My problem is that this whole story is getting so much visibility, it's reflecting very poorly on the entire fashion industry. I'm seeing tweets and posts and articles and opinion pieces and whatnot saying that the fashion industry is completely rotten, they should all get cancelled. All right, please be assured that there are people and brands in this industry who are genuinely trying to do good and to do better, who have strong values and who have their priorities in order. Please remember that. Thank you for watching until here.